This is Felt Recoil.
Welcome to the Felt Recoil Podcast, episode number 73. It's a dramatic pause there at the beginning, building anticipation. I do. I sit here, and I let the music play, and I think, do I talk now? Do I wait? The greatest program director I ever worked under, Nikki Knight, used to say there was a lot that the pause could do for you if you knew how to use the pause. Anyway. All right. My name is Chris. Across from me
is Patrick.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I did that dramatic pause there. I've been working on that this whole time.
See?
73 episodes. I've been working on that dramatic pause.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I nailed it that time.
Do it again. My name is Chris, and across from me is
Patrick.
No, I don't think it's working for us.
That wasn't working. No,
Hey.
I didn't feel that one.
As I look at the stickers on my wall over there, by the way, I didn't look this up, and I could have, but that would involve like preparation for what we do here every week. I was watching Band of Brothers again this week, and I noticed that in one of those they send a command over the radio to fire for effect. And I thought, oh, maybe that's where they got their name. If you're not familiar, Fire for Effect is the company that milled the slide on my Glock 17. But also, they do that for a lot of people. But they do really, really nice work. But I'd never heard the phrase before hearing of the company. So, is that a thing?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. All right, number 73 has a lot coming at you. We're going to talk about, I don't know why everybody is suddenly giving London grief on the knives. They've been doing this for years.
It's not a new thing.
That's the more concerning part. We'll get to that. Plus, we're going to talk about some local stuff here in Greenville, South Carolina. The county detention center is apparently a cesspool for criminals. And you go, yeah, Chris, because that's where they put the criminals. No, the criminals are being paid to work there. It's very strange. We're going to dive into that. We had an officer arrested last year for domestic violence and attempted murder and kidnapping a year ago this month. And now we've got a guy who has been caught with a ring, I would suppose. There's no evidence to suggest there's more than just this guy right now. But what he was doing, there's no way he did alone. So we'll talk about that. And then what else is on there? Oh, yes. I was told that last week I glossed over the Pulse nightclub narrative.
We certainly did.
And I thought we had really dove into that on this program, but apparently I was wrong.
I think you and I had an offline conversation about it.
And I just assumed.
A very intense conversation because it's ridiculous.
Here's the problem.
But no, we didn't actually talk about it on the show.
The problem is I don't go back and listen to the podcast.
That's probably smart.
And the other problem is that even if I write it down that we're going to talk about it, sometimes I don't do that. I get carried away on something, and we don't loop back around to the reason we're all here.
Never happens.
So,
I'm trying to think of which singular incident you're referring to, but I can't. Nothing comes to mind.
I would say the podcast.
Oh,
in and of itself would be the singular incident. Now
right.
On the record, 72 previous times.
Got it.
So I am going to do my best to fix both of those problems, except I'm not going to go back and listen because sometimes if you feel like when we buy new audio equipment and stuff like that, I'll go back and listen to see if the sound is right and know what see how it sounds. But for the most part, I don't go back and listen.
And then what do you do?
Just, put clothes on.
Turn more knobs next week.
All right. Anyway, let's start.
Disgusting.
Did you catch it? All right. Let's.
Oh, I caught it, and I was trying to let it go, but I just couldn't let that one hang in the air.
All right, let's talk about this week's charity of choice. Sorry, Hidden Wounds, to give you that lead in. Hidden Wounds helps the heroes battle the invisible war at home. It's a nonprofit organization out of Columbia, South Carolina, whose mission is to help heroes battle the invisible war at home. Patrick is going to share with you now a really, I think, ingenious idea that Hidden Wounds posted on their Facebook page.
So in reference to the Zuckerberg trials that are going on in Congress, the folks over at Hidden Wounds posted on their Facebook page, and they said, and I'm going to quote, "Apparently Facebook is the eye in the sky. CEO Mark Zuckerberg testified that they have AI that analyzes what a user posts and determines if it violates their terms or not before a human even sees it." And they go on to say, imagine what that technology could do for veterans that post messages or content that raises red flags, or anyone who posts a message that would cause concern. We promise you that the suicide rate among the veteran community would decline. Did you read that, Facebook?
That's pretty strong, and I like it. Here's the thing. There's two crazy things. Think about how quick your status changes on Facebook. And by that, I mean, when you're eating that burrito, and you go, this is the best steak burrito I've ever had, and you take your picture, and then you type it in, best steak burrito ever, and then, you can feel the butterfly effect kicking in, how you're about to change the world. Mm-hmm. Think about how quickly, when you hit post, that appears. And then understand that there is a computer somewhere that is analyzing, most likely, while you type
all my burrito photos
in real time, yes, to see if the content is appropriate. That is mind-boggling. That is mind-numbing, really. It makes me not want to think about it because it gives me anxiety. All right. Hidden Wounds.
I'll take it one step further.
Hiddenwounds.org. Hiddenwounds.org. Find more information. Give a donation.
They actually have technology that will analyze what you have typed, but not actually sent or posted.
Right.
And they save all that information.
Isn't that crazy?
What are they doing with that?
I thought that's what Congress was going to find out. Here's my problem with what happened with Facebook, by the way. I get there was a security data breach. Some company apparently had access to everybody's information. Has anybody ever given Facebook their mother's maiden name and their social security number? Like, what is in your Facebook information that is so sensitive that we should all be worried? Well, Chris, it's everything I put, and they don't have, blah, blah. Okay, all right. Here's my problem. So a couple weeks ago, I was in a public restroom, and the guy next to me flushed the urinal with his elbow. And I found that really funny because he's doing his business, and then he pulls his elbow up, right? Because I thought he was going to attack me, so I went into judo stance, which made this a little more awkward. But he goes up with his elbow, and he comes down.
Especially since you're now peeing on his feet.
Right, well, first of all, that's judo defense number one.
Okay.
Pee on foot.
All right.
Ain't nobody going to fight you now. So he pulls his elbow up on the lever, and he's flushing the urinal with his elbow. And I go, that's kind of gross. And then he goes over and washes his hands and leaves. And it occurred to me, this is kind of where we are as a people. We're flushing.
You just realized that you just peed next to Howard Hughes. Is that what happened there?
I don't know. That reference went over my head. Was Howard Hughes an eccentric crazy man?
Yes.
I didn't see.
Germaphobe.
I didn't see the movie. Okay, but all right. But here's the thing. So that guy thought I'm glad you said it because that guy thought he was avoiding germs. But every germ that was present in that bathroom is now on his elbow, which he did not wash. So he flushes with his elbow, most likely goes and sits at the dinner table with his elbows on the table right next to his plate of food. But hey, I washed my hands. Everything's clean. I'm good. It's like this absurd overlook of all the obvious things in front of you that could be going wrong. The same as, you look at the kids on TV right now screaming for gun control and gun reform, and then you see this school. Where was the school with the baseball bats? Did you see that today? We put it on our
Pennsylvania.
We put it on our Facebook page. You need to go facebook.com/felt recoil show. And this school decided, here's what we'll do. We will give the teachers baseball bats, and the teachers can fight mass shooters with baseball bats. So I don't know if they're trying to be humane or if they understand who said it. This was, yes. So Eric said on our Facebook page, I thought this won the internet for the day. Yes, let the children watch their teacher bludgeon someone to death instead of just shooting them. Yeah, right? Because that's how we're going to solve the problem. Pennsylvania School District arms teachers with baseball bats, according to
I like that
FoxNews.com.
they're mini bats. They're like what you get at like a AAA ball club.
It's what they used to call
souvenir night.
tire thumpers. We used to call those tire thumpers because truckers will carry these and get out.
Have grown up in a really rough neighborhood. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about right now.
Okay. Truckers carry these little baseball bats, 18-wheelers, and they get out and bounce them off their tires to check pressure. It's like a poor man's pressure check back in the day.
Chris?
Yes.
Why are you hanging out at truck stops?
Extra money, dude. I got 3 kids. So here's this little baseball bat, and this is what they're going to hand to teachers. You could just give the teacher a gun. You could give them what we call a force multiplier, and you could make it something where now that teacher has the same amount of force, if not more so, than the shooter coming down the hallway. That would make sense. That would be logical. This is what we would do if we really wanted to stop it. But instead, what we think is, if it's different, it must be right because it's different.
Well, I'd like to point out that the cops with the funny hats over there in England carry basically the same thing, and they're all getting sliced and diced. So I don't think it's really working.
There was a video going around today of the police in the UK asking the guy to put the knives down, and then they tase him. He comes running at them. So he's in like a cage-looking thing. He comes running at the cop after one cop opens the door. So there's 2 cops, all right? So we'll just say cop A has a taser. Cop B opens the gate. The man with the knife runs at cop A. He tases him, and it does not affect the knife-wielding lunatic. So Officer B, who opened the door, now has to essentially tackle the lunatic and hope he doesn't get stabbed, but his arms are getting sliced for sure in the video. And he go, what are you doing? Get a gun and shoot him.
Wait a second. Mm-hmm. He was behind a locked gate?
And they opened it.
What the hell did they think was going to happen?
No idea.
All right.
No idea. But here's the great part is they're obviously kind of verbatim reciting a script. Is there anything reasonable I can do to convince you to put the knives down?
So British of him.
Yeah, right? And he's all like, no, I want to kill myself. He keeps poking it like into his ribs. He's got a knife in each hand. He's poking him into his ribs. Don't harm yourself. No. All right. Anyway.
Probably just, hey, chap, could we get you a cup of tea?
So what have they concluded at? What do they call their cookies? Biscuits, right? Don't they call it biscuits if it's a cookie? They're biscuits. Isn't that what they do? Biscuits and tea?
I don't know. I don't hang out over there.
I don't either. Nor should we. What a bunch of losers. What they have done is convince themselves the rest of the world is using guns to stop bad guys. Not the rest of the world. But the modern world, America, is using guns to stop bad guys. We will be different, and therefore we'll be right. Look at today's quote, I'm making air quotes. Look at today's artists, right? Why? Have you ever noticed that the people who design clothes and cut hair have the worst haircuts and the worst outfits? And it's as if they have to prove to you, I'm so eccentric and different that there must be something special about me. No, you're just weird. You're just odd. You just want to be different to excuse the fact that you're not actually as cool as you want us to think you are, right? So if you can be super eccentric, if you can have your hair sit 2 feet above the top of your head for some reason, and you're a dude, and you shave the sides as well, and then you go, but I'm a hairdresser. It's inexcusable. There's no reason for that. It looks absurd. Yeah, but he's a hairdresser, so what? So he's bad at cutting his own hair. I wouldn't want him cutting mine. So the point I'm making here is this is the same logic that the guy in the bathroom uses at the urinal. He puts his elbow up, and he flushes the lever, and then he washes his hands, and he thinks, I'm clean because I did it different. It's the same thing as we've all learned now to sneeze into the crook of our elbow, but nobody's washing the crook of their elbow. So now all your germs are spreading down your arm and down your sleeve, whereas if you would just sneeze into your hands and then go wash them, the germs have largely gone away. But it's different, Chris. It must be healthier because the government made it something different, and it's new, and so this is the better way to do things. Hence, for some reason, we all think that when we sign up for Facebook and tell them, yes, I agree to your terms of use and service, and then none of us read it, and we all get on there and share pictures of our children and our food and our political leanings and everything we believe in life and our religious convictions, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but to whine and complain that now people have seen it, that you didn't want to see it, too bad.
Well, it's funny to me that people are suddenly woke to the fact that
right.
they are being used by the system that is Facebook. It's like they're using the things that I post against me. Yeah, they've been doing that all along.
Absolutely.
Where the hell do you think those ads come from?
Girls have been using stuff I post against me for a long time, too. Is that the same?
Those are called restraining orders, Chris.
Oh, yes. I like court. You meet a lot of people that you wouldn't meet otherwise, judges and lawyers, and I'm always like, I want to be one of you one day. And they go work at the detention center. I said, oh. I'll explain that one in a minute. Anyway, so I just found the whole thing comical because who cares? Well, listen, here's the point. Everything Facebook has, you gave them. You gave it to them. Willingly. In exchange for using a program they created. You don't want other people to have it? Don't put it on Facebook. Don't put it on the computer anywhere. Stay off the electronics. I will tell you this in reference to what you just said. I was once in a high-level meeting, and I won't say too much because I'm pretty sure you're really not supposed to talk about it at all. But I was in a very high-level meeting with government agencies who were coordinating the capture of a man involved in child pornography. And this is a true story. Real life. I'm not being funny here. Department of Homeland Security, FBI, on and on the list goes. And they're all in this room, and we're staring at a chart, and they're explaining how they're going to capture this guy. That's as much as I'll say about it. The people that were coordinating his capture made a reference to a company you would know if I told you. A massive company where children go. And they mentioned that company had been somewhat resistant to work with them to catch child predators. And the guy running the meeting said, they will either play ball or I will mount a campaign to let everyone know how this company is using the information of children that visit their websites, and they will play ball at that point. I guarantee it. So the point is, not only is your information out there, but you're letting your kids on devices. They're going to websites you think are totally kids-friendly. They're grabbing their information when it's put in. They're selling it to people. This is the way of the world. This is the way it is. For some reason, we think it's evil once we find out about it. But again, it's all things we're agreeing to. So slow down. It's not good just because it's different. It's not the right. And I guess the parallel I'm trying to draw here is that Facebook makes these ads, and they come across as, well, we love diversity, we love the planet, and we're good, wholesome people. So you think they're okay because they're different. This is different. This is different than, white trash MySpace where you got to put music on your profile. Did you see that guy the other day, the thing that was going around? It said, man, on MySpace, you got to have a song play on your page. You got to have customized backgrounds. You got to brag about your 8 best friends. And then we all turn our backs on Tom. Why'd we do Tom like that? That's true. It was kind of more of a fun, personalized experience on MySpace than Facebook ever has been. But anyway, the point is... Well,
they weren't monetizing us and...
Yeah, you got that right.
And controlling us either, so that's sort of out the window.
And Tom of MySpace fame actually had the greatest retort I've ever read on the internet. Do you remember this? When that guy... So Tom, when Twitter came up, Tom got on Twitter, got verified, and a guy thought, I'll troll Tom, and said, good to see the guy. Oh, Tom said, happy to be on Twitter, something like that. Happy to be on Twitter. Looks like a great platform. And a guy replied and said, says the guy that couldn't keep MySpace afloat. And Tom replied, says the guy that just sold MySpace for $350 million. But right. Thanks. I was like, Tom's my man. I could hang with Tom. Yeah. Tom, I'd go work for you for like a third of that for the rest of my life. You just give me a third right now, and then I'll come work for you for the rest of my life. All right. Okay, did I make it clear?
You want to keep doing the show, or do you just want to wait on that phone call?
Yeah, we'll just wait. What else are we doing? Okay, here we go. Let's listen. And I really do. I hate to revel, but I do love. Nothing makes me more angry than a crooked cop. But even more so a crooked security guard who wishes he was a real cop, that makes me much, much more angry. And this is what you're about to hear, but I'll give you the backstory here. And let me be real clear here. These detention center officers, I'm sure, have an extraordinarily hard job that I wouldn't want to do, okay? But such is life when you choose to do that job, that things are going to be a little more difficult on you. I have a thing, and forgive me if I get out of line here, but I get irked when teachers or law enforcement, first responders, military people, when any of these people who chose to do what they do for a living both demand respect and then B, whine about the nature of the work. Drives me crazy. You know what my first declared major was in college?
Underwater basket weaving.
Yes, I meant my second. My original intent was I wanted to teach speech and theater. So I went in as, I think it was theater education or speech and theater education was my first major in college when I was like straight out of high school. Now, I failed every class, okay? To be very, very clear.
Which just brought him here.
And here I am. And I thought, one day, when I'm approaching 40, I will start a podcast, and then things will really take off.
Then I will beg the former CEO of MySpace for a job.
Exactly. On the said podcast. He'll hear it. He'll know podcasting is the future, and I'll be set. The point is, I hung out with a lot of cool people, and I think there are a lot of good people out there who do teach. And the reason I declared that major, by the way, this was the point. The reason I declared that major was because my speech teacher in high school, Mr. Nicholas, probably had the most positive impact of anyone on me in those years outside of my own parents, okay? So he was the guy who made school worth going to. He was the guy who went to a private Christian school, and he was the guy who prayed as if you've ever seen Fiddler on the Roof, you ever seen it?
It's been a long time.
That's how Mr. Nicholas prayed. You know how I can't think of his name. The main character in Fiddler on the Roof just prays as if God is standing with him, like constantly, and he just goes, "Oh, Lord, why do you burden me with this? She's crazy," that kind of stuff. Mr. Nicholas would pray that, and I assume he still does. But he was just a real good guy, and so I thought, I'll go into education. I'll be like him. That was kind of my thing. I'll go and be like him. And so I'm not trying to put him, teachers or police officers, military, all in one basket of deplorables. What I'm saying is, when you get those two ingredients together on a member of any of those communities where they demand respect but then gripe about the nature of the work, it drives me crazy. You chose to do it. Put your big boy pants on and understand you don't make a ton of money to do those things. In some respects, that's terrible. But in other respects, that's kind of how it goes, because there's an average here, okay? As we've talked about before, you don't have to have a master's degree to teach third grade math. So teaching third grade math shouldn't pay $60,000 a year, okay? But you do need a master's degree to do like special education and get those children set up for success in life. So that could easily be a $60,000 to $75,000 a year job. You don't need a college diploma to work at the detention center as a security guard. But you probably should have a master's degree if you're going to run the place eventually. So there's an average. There's an average here, okay? Not every employee needs to walk into those jobs and make $50,000 a year, but the guys who stick it out.
But everyone's been convinced that that's how it works now, though. You go to college,
right?
You get out, you make $100K doing whatever. It doesn't even matter.
God knows what.
I mean, you have the degree, so that's just how it works.
I got to tell you something, man, on a personal note, which I think this all is. We're at the point now in our family where we could really use a truck, okay? But I'm spoiled because I have a Jetta that's paid for that kind of has all the little luxuries that I would want in a truck. Heated seats.
When I think Jetta, I think luxury.
Well, I'm telling you right now. You got heated seats.
I kid. It is a nice car.
Apple CarPlay with the Bluetooth installed. That's what I mean. You jerk. So I've got all these little things that I would want in a truck. Well, you go and you look at a truck, and a truck like that's $40,000. And I go, well, I can't afford a $40,000 car. Well, to get a truck that's not $40,000, you got to buy something that's 10 years old, so you don't get any of those niceties. So I've been casually looking at trucks online, thinking maybe I could go get one. But it wouldn't make us poor. But I mean, that's $300, $400, maybe even $500 a month that you could have spent on other things. So you're juggling that, right? So you start juggling. Oh, you're gonna have yeah. So I said to myself, I'll tell you what, self, look at all the finances, okay, and see what you can just not spend on anymore, and see if some of those things. I went and looked at my student loans and how much I still owe. And that'd be a heck of a nice truck.
And you were like, well, I just won't pay that anymore.
Yeah, it would be nice, right? It would be nice. But what I did think was, why did you ever do that? And it's hard to second guess that, because who knows where you would be if you didn't, right? So my path in life was I went back to work part-time for Academy Sports. I was doing that. I enrolled in school. And Academy was just a way to make $9-10 an hour and have some additional income, so my wife wasn't carrying the whole burden. So I worked full-time, went to school full-time, which you know firsthand. You watched me do some of it.
Still trying to figure out how you did it.
I don't know. I really
With
don't.
Babies and all that.
We had a couple kids. But yeah, I'm not trying to brag on it. What I am trying to say, though, is so then.
Do you sleep now or?
Sometimes.
Because I don't think you did it all then.
No, and if you remember, there was a defining moment where I snapped at a guy over something really inconsequential. I had to go apologize to him, and then I came back and was like, I can't work Saturday, Sundays anymore, man. I'm burning the candle. Because I would work for the Blaze from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Saturdays. I would grab a couple hours of sleep and go to work, because at this point I'd started working at the place where I work now. And so anyway, the point is, I'm juggling everything, trying to find a spot. I thought, I'll get my degree in political science, go to law school maybe. We'll see. Well, then I graduated, and I'd gone full-time with the company I still work with, and I'm looking at law school and different options, and then it was kind of like, well, all right, law school takes 3 years, right? So now you're 40 and starting a job, like starting a career path at 40. Do you really want to do that? Because it looks like these guys might have a place for you. The whole point I'm making here is, then I looked at it and I was like, man, what if I just wouldn't have done school? So in my case, I don't know, because school kind of put me on a path, and that path put me where I am. So I'm not like saying never ever go to school. But what I am saying is, in and of itself, my college degree has helped me zilch with what I'm doing. Nothing I do for a living. Again, college degree in political science with a minor in criminal justice, and I do marketing and branding and basically creative media for a living.
Makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense, right? So you are better suited. You are better suited if you have something you feel like you're good at.
Did you just get a certificate in basket weaving?
Yeah. You could do like a 3-month summer program.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought I would.
Could you roll that into an associate's?
I think so.
Yeah,
And then tell everybody you graduated college.
Yes.
That goes in line with the teachers that demand respect and gripe about their job. I did the basket weaving thing. I thought it'd be a good way to meet girls, and it turns out it's actually just a lot of nerds who thought the same thing. So it didn't work. All right, where were we going with all of this? Oh, yes, Fava. I think that's how you say this guy's name. All right. Nothing irks me more than people like Fava here, and I will explain it in full in just a second. First, we do have more free food for you, because if there's something people like, it's food. And if food always tastes better when it's free. So you can say hello to delicious with free meals from HelloFresh.com. My wife and I use this. We love it. At least 6 meals a week come from HelloFresh for us, because we get the 4-person meals. We'll cook it one night, eat it for lunch the next day. That's 2 meals out of 1 bag. We love it. It works for us. All you'll have to do is select your favorite meal plan and enter a code at checkout for your free meals. And I will say this is one thing I like about being able to give this to you, is we've met new people every time so far. I haven't given this away yet to somebody we already knew, so that's exciting. Email HelloFresh. That's common spelling on both of those. HelloFresh at feltrecoilshow.com. HelloFresh at feltrecoilshow.com. First person to do so will get the code. And don't think that because you're listening this maybe a couple days after it's released that somebody's already emailed us. Just letting you know, a new week has come on one of these so far. Meaning, we record on Wednesdays, and it was the next Monday when I gave this away last time. So don't assume just shoot the email. And if we've already given it away, we'll try and get you something else as a consolation. Okay? Happy to do it. All right. This is from foxcarolina.com. Here's your background on this detention officer. And again, I really want to preface, I'm going to be mad about this guy because he just irks me. But I think the majority, you're probably looking at, 99% of the guys there are good people. This guy, not so much. But my question is, it can't be possible that he did it on his own, what I'm about to tell you about. And then we'll listen to him in court. Should we do that for now? We'll listen to him after we give you the setup. Here you go. All right. So a Greenville County detention officer has been fired, according to FoxCarolina.com, after he was accused of bringing contraband into the jail to sell to inmates and arrested on multiple charges. Rocco Jonathan Fava was charged with misconduct, and I think that's supposed to be misconduct in office or of office. It says and office, and furnishing contraband to a prisoner. A lieutenant working at the detention center confirms that Fava was a detention center officer. Fava appeared in his uniform for a bond hearing. That's got to be embarrassing. And the judge issued a personal recognizance bond of $10,000 for each charge, totaling $20,000. He let him out on his own recognizance. Here you go. I'm going to play you Fava getting all worked up in front of the judge. Listen to this. You'll like it.
You're being charged with furnishing contraband to a prisoner and misconduct in office. Both of these are general sessions charges, which means you have an additional right. You have the right of a preliminary hearing. The preliminary hearing is an evidence hearing where the state has to show that they have the evidence to take you to court. If you want that hearing, take the form I'm going to give you and fill it out. On your charges, I'm going to set a $10,000 bond on each of the two charges for a total of $20,000. However, I am going to let you sign your own bond to get out.
Thank you.
Your court date is set for June the 29th at 9 o'clock in the morning at the Greenville County Courthouse at 305 East North Street.
We should all go.
You need your signature and telephone number, and then your signature and initials on a whole bunch of other forms, and then we'll get you out of here, okay?
So I PR on both charges.
Yes.
This is the good part. Listen to him.
Is there anything I can do as far as PTI or anything?
It's possible. I was just going to mention that. You may qualify for PTI, but that would be up to the PTI office. I'll have Marquita give you a PTI form. Follow the instructions in that form and go talk with them and see what you can do with that.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, buddy.
All right, so I think the judge is just supremely nice to him there, right? Like, that's a nice judge because I'd have told that dude to take a hike. I do want to commend whoever made him wear his uniform into the courtroom. I hope that was a conscious decision because it does set the tone of you're not above the law. Now, here's the whole point to me that I lose all sympathy for this guy because he asked for PTI. So if you don't know what PTI is, PTI stands for pretrial intervention, okay? And according to the South Carolina 5th Judicial Circuit Solicitor's Office, is that South Carolina? I thought it was. Yeah, okay. PTI is the pretrial intervention program. It provides first-time offenders with an alternative to traditional prosecution. The PTI seeks to provide intervention and a second chance through rehabilitative services when those efforts can potentially deter future criminal behavior. Participants are required to perform community service, make restitution to their victims, and to participate in individual and group counseling. They may receive educational, vocational, and other appropriate referrals to community agencies. Simply stated, the goal of PTI is to determine and address the root causes of criminal activity to deter a defendant's future criminal or disorderly behavior. So the whole point is to deter criminal behavior.
So I'm going to go ahead and just shut this argument down right now because if we're trying to deter him from doing this again, I think we've already done that because we fired him. So I don't think he's going to be at the jail able to slip cigarettes or whatever to...
So no need for PTI for him, then he should just go to trial.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Because what he's trying to do is avoid criminal charges. If he can get into PTI and complete a program, he doesn't have a criminal record. Now, here's the problem I have. Okay, Fava. What better pre-trial intervention could there be than to immerse someone in jail culture, than to put someone on the floor in the middle of inmates 12 hours a day, 3 to 5 days a week, depending on your rotation schedule, and allow them to really see what a life of crime becomes.
But let me ask, I understand the point you're trying to make, but what if, because they don't see anything on the front end of that, they don't see the judicial system in action, so what if that turns into like a disillusionment and that never reaches their frame of mind? So instead they just think, well, I'm above all this, so I'm going to slip Big Mookie and Ray Ray and them some Pall Malls, and nobody's going to be any of the wiser.
Right. Okay, great point. Twofold. Number one, if that's what he thought, if he was so dense and such a dolt that he did not know that those people got there because they committed crimes, he should never work anywhere
I'm not saying
ever
he didn't
again.
know. I'm just saying I think people get complacent in their surroundings.
Okay.
I think that is...
So maybe he was incubated in a way,
sure,
where he had lost any sensitivity to what the real world was.
Well, consider how a lot of people accuse a lot of cops of being above the law, right?
Right, sure.
Imagine you go to the nth degree in a place like a prison where you have guys wearing badges and guys who literally, we're going to put them behind bars and say lights out every night.
Yeah.
I would think that divide is probably much wider, and you actually probably have a lot more of that because of the circumstances of that workplace. I mean, what's somebody going to do? What's the guy that's already locked up going to do when Fava or whomever is being overzealous with his job, right? What's his course of action?
The inmate?
The inmate, right.
Yeah. He can file a report against them, right? He can file against them. Here's what I think.
How well do you think that works?
Well, I think pretty well, actually. And the reason I say that is I have a police officer friend on a personal level who, when I mention crooked police to him, you can watch his demeanor change immediately. We've talked about this story over the phone, and I heard his voice change immediately. Yeah, this is no joke to him, because there's no worse scourge on the badge than a criminal cop,
absolutely.
Right? So I think, here's the other problem.
Well, and that small percentage makes the larger portion of the group seem like they're a part of it.
Right.
So that's the real issue. That's why these guys get so upset. I absolutely understand
They're going to snuff that out quick, right? The other side is the inmates are now literally running the asylum if you allow things like this to happen, right? So they have to understand that you can't ever allow the inmate to be in a position where you owe them something. You can't owe the inmate anything. You cannot, because then the inmate is in control of the situation. Here's the thing about a prison officer, this is the county jail. So, I mean, he's not, and that might even actually kind of support your claim there. Your theory probably finds some support in the fact that these guys aren't really, if they're dealing with hardened criminals, it's on a limited basis. The hardened criminals move on to an actual prison. It's the difference between a jail and a prison, right? Jail is a year or less. Prison is usually a year or more. So they'll move them to the prison. Now, if you murder somebody in the county brutally and you're going away for life, you will make a pit stop through the jail. So they will deal with those people. But that is not the everyday person they're dealing with. They're not with that guy for 5-6 years at a time. They're with these people for a max of a year. So maybe in his mind, he did look at it and go, well, these aren't hardened criminals, and this isn't like prison. I mean, it's a jail. Maybe he had some perverse way of approaching it. Listen to this. This is from WSPA.com. A year ago this week, okay, April 11th, 2017, a Greenville County Detention Center officer is charged with attempted murder and other crimes. Austin Taylor, 30 years old, arrested for attempted murder, kidnapping, and domestic violence of a high and aggravated nature. Greenville County Sheriff's deputies responded to St. Francis Hospital in reference to a domestic violence report. Deputies say the victim was assaulted, choked to the point of unconsciousness, and held against her will at home. According to documents from the Criminal Justice Academy, Taylor's only position in law enforcement has been as a corrections officer, no kidding, since 2012 at the time, so he was in there for 5 years. Taylor was denied bond on the attempted murder charge and was given a combined $40,000 bond for the other 2 charges. So, Taylor's been fired. Should Taylor have even considered PTI? You know what I'm saying? And
I mean, since
here's
we're
the
asking,
thing. Yes.
why not?
Why not? Because you got to understand, the hottest contraband item going into the prison and the jail, 1 or 2 things: tobacco, cell phones. Tobacco, cell phones. Tobacco, cell phones. What are they doing with those cell phones? They're not calling mom to ask for the family recipe for the casserole. They're giving orders. They're taking orders. They are killing people. They are dealing. They're doing what they do. And now Father and anyone that helped him is on the hook for those things as well, either as an accomplice or
Accessory.
accessory. Thank you very much. You can be an accessory after the fact, or you can be an accomplice. A little bit of a difference between the two, but you're still on the hook legally to an extent. I don't see how he did it alone is probably my biggest problem here. You don't just walk in with cigarettes and cell phones into the jail and divvy them out to everybody without other people watching your back. There's cameras everywhere. Everywhere. So, just a prediction here. I say whoever's on the shift with him, there's probably a massive, what's the word? Investigation.
Conspiracy?
Well, yeah. There's a massive investigation underway right now looking into all these guys. I think we could be certain. I think we're going to find out that this thing went much, much deeper than we can
And
imagine.
I'm willing to bet, with the way this guy was sniveling and carrying on in court, that he's probably already gone ahead and squealed on everybody.
Oh, absolutely, right.
So if you're the guys that were participating in this, probably not having a good week.
I'd be up there trying to help now. I'd be like, listen, he gave me like $100 and asked me to look the other way one day, and I did. And that might be connected to this, and I'm really sorry. What do I do? Like, I'd be hat in hand trying to keep my butt out of jail at this point more than anything else. So I'll be fired. But maybe you could avoid charges and all that. If he is squealing, if he's squealing and they let him squeal, he probably wasn't the big fish then, right?
Potentially. Yeah, I
They
mean,
don't go, they don't squeeze the small fish. They get the big guys, the Khalid Sheikh Mohammeds of the world, are the guys that got waterboarded because they knew much, much more than everybody.
maybe that's what they need to do with this guy.
Man, that would be awesome. Listen, you want to fix the U.S. deficit? Waterboard a dude like this on pay-per-view, and we'll all pay to watch it and listen to him squeal. He's blubbering like that over your personal recognizance
It won't
bond.
last very long.
God bless. I hope he goes to jail. I really do. For many, many reasons, but I hope he goes to jail. Anybody who had the authority over the prisoners and was no better than they were, was a common criminal just as they are, he deserves to spend time with them. No mercy. No mercy. Prove the point. Okay. Just so we're clear, the narrative on the Pulse nightclub shooting is not at all what we've been told. So if we didn't cover this, which I was totally under the impression we did, here it is. If we did already cover it, hopefully you didn't listen to that episode.
We talked about it, but we didn't get deep into it.
So this is from Glenn Beck, glennbeck.com. It's been nearly 2 years since the Pulse nightclub attack. 2 years. It's just now becoming a clear picture of what really happened. Okay. The killer pledged allegiance to ISIS. So, ergo, the killer was a radical Islamic terrorist. This was a terrorist attack. Zero room for speculation, but that's not what the media ran with. For 2 years, the media and many in the gay community have been calling this a hate crime on the LGBT community. Hours after the attack went down, the media went into full-on narrative mode, trying to paint the picture of the killer as a man with repressed anger over his own sexual urges who couldn't reconcile that with his faith. Now, I remember that. I remember that being, everybody knew him and he was here all the time. Okay. Skipping forward. As it turns out, we now have the entire timeline for what went down that night, and the motive is clear. Pulse wasn't the killer's intended target. The target was Disney. At 10 p.m., the killer arrived at the Disney World shopping and entertainment area. He used a stroller to conceal his weapon. Security camera footage shows him passing multiple police and security officers and even watching their movements. It apparently made him rethink his choice. Good guys with guns stopped a terror attack on Disney, and they didn't even know they were doing it. Imagine if more people open carried. All right, I disagree with that. Not more people, but all right, whatever. How many more attacks would that stop before they even got started? That's a good point. It really is a good point. We can't really, I guess I tend to judge the open carry guys the way the rest of the world judges any gun owner, so maybe I'll stop doing that. But I don't think open carry is a tactically wise decision.
Stop. They're idiots.
Some of them. All right. So the killer, Glenn continues. That was all us. All right. The killer went back to his car and pulled out his phone. He Googled downtown Orlando nightclubs. Notice he didn't mention gay. The two top hits were Eve nightclub, which isn't a gay club, and Pulse. He pulled up the directions to Eve and surveilled the club. He then got the directions to Pulse and did the same. He apparently decided Eve was an easier target because he then plugged the directions back into his phone and began to drive in that direction. But a few minutes into the drive back to Eve, he changed his mind. He turned back to Pulse, began the attack soon thereafter, and during the entire night, not once did he make a derogatory remark about gay people. Everything he said was regarding U.S. policy in the Middle East and his goal of bringing violence to the U.S. mainland. The killer was looking for a soft target with a lot of people. Who he killed didn't matter to him as long as they were American. We live in a tribal society where anyone and everyone is looking to use every tragedy that happens as a way to point fingers and assign blame. All right. Glenn goes on to say, let's just see the words human being. Narrative chasing is tearing us apart. Let's be better. All right. Patrick, would you like to state the obvious? Because I think I know where your brain's at right now.
I wanted to continue with the story, actually, but...
Go ahead.
Well, so there's a couple things. One, I will state the obvious. The first thing that comes to my mind is that this has been buried. Mm-hmm. But two... we also found out around the same time this article came out that the gunman's father was an FBI informant. So there seems to be some strange connections there that don't really add up, in my opinion. And then also, there was a trial for his wife, basically to see if, I guess, she knew anything about this or could have in some way tipped off the police and stopped it or anything to that effect, which I believe she was cleared of those charges. And the media asked, I think, that they respect her privacy so that she could go home and dye Easter eggs with her children.
Right.
Let that sink in for a second.
So he pledged allegiance to ISIS, but his wife celebrates the resurrection of Christ. Christ who said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man come to the Father but by me. Muhammad, who said, kill all the unbelievers and the Jews, and the day of resurrection will happen when even the rocks and trees cry out, O believer, O Muslim, there's a Jew behind me, come and kill him. I don't know why, if you love Muhammad, you would... But okay, all right. Sorry, all right. So they celebrate Christ's resurrection, but even though they love Muhammad. Okay.
Apparently she does.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because if there's one thing we know about ISIS sympathizers, there is an overrepresentation of Christian wives in that group. I think. I think that's been proven.
Did you say slaves or wives?
Wives, same thing.
Okay, because I think in Libya they got a lot of... The Muslims are capturing a lot of Christian slaves right now, but I don't remember any of them being wives.
In Arabic, there is no word for black people except the word slave. And that's what the
Sir,
Arab
you are
language.
racist.
I'm just saying. Muhammad started it. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's really what I wanted to get off my chest there was this whole thing has been just sort of swept under the rug.
Okay.
And it's just super awkward.
Here's where I thought your head would be.
Okay.
How do we know all this?
Yeah, okay. Well, I said that when we brought this up.
Oh, we
briefly the
did?
other
All
week.
right.
We know all of this good stuff. We know nothing about
Nothing
Vegas.
on Vegas.
Not a thing.
Nothing. Dude hauled all those rifles up there. Okay.
We got 7 minutes of video of him hauling rifles up and down the elevators over a several day period, but it looks like he's wearing the exact same clothes in every single shot.
I mean, what's to be concerned about? What's the problem?
Makes good sense to me.
All right. If you want to read the Pulse nightclub story, facebook.com/FeltRecoil show. We posted it there. Again, it'll be one of the newest ones you'll see. It says read it all. You can read it there. Okay. Let's wrap it up with our VOTA of the week. London Mayor Sadiq Khan, who targets knives as murder rate spikes. If you haven't heard, London has now outpaced New York City for murder rates 2 straight months. First time it's ever happened. So, at Mayor of London, that's his official Twitter handle, Sadiq Khan says, no excuses. There's never a reason to carry a knife. There's never... God bless. I mean, how many things do you use your knife for every single day? Every day I use my knife for something, but no reason to ever carry a knife. Okay. Anyone who does will be caught, and they will feel the full force of the law. And then it's a link to an article from a government website there in the UK that says, here's what the mayor is doing to tackle violent crime.
What is the penalty for carrying a knife?
Well, the full force of the law, in case you didn't hear.
Sorry, Barn.
So here we go. Future tackling gang violence action plans underway. The mayor has published a new knife crime strategy, a package of tough and comprehensive measures to tackle knife crime, taking in views from bereaved families and victims. So here's another problem. We're legislating through emotion. That's never a good thing. It doesn't, as Ben Shapiro would say, experiencing a tragedy does not confer expertise upon you. Okay? It just means you've had a really hard time at something. Something bad and terrible has happened to you. What you need to do in that time is allow those who haven't had their logic distorted, thank you, by the tragedy. Let them sort it out and figure out the right way to handle it going forward. But we don't tend to do that because it would make us look insensitive.
Do you think all the high schoolers over there in London are up in arms right now about the knives?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything.
I don't. That's a good question. I don't know. Knife wands are now available for every school in London to help keep young people safe. Okay.
Is that supposed to be a metal detector? What the hell is a knife wand?
Yeah, it's got to be, right? I don't see where he's laying out. Well, let's see. It says that he's got a knife crime strategy. So let's see what that is. Oh, look, it's another article. Let's see the strategy, please. Okay, the London knife crime strategy. This is from June. Look at that. He linked... Okay, so this proves our point. He linked to his strategy that was released in June of 2017 in a tweet he sent this week saying he's working on being tough on knife crime. Look at this lady on the cover that's looking at him, this Bobby, and she's like, you're an idiot. You can see it in her face that she's looking at him. She's got that half-fake smile. He's talking to a guy who just so happens to look extraordinarily a lot like him, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm the mayor because I'm a Muslim. And then the woman in the middle is like, you are a moron. You should not be where you are, but somehow you are. Look at these crisp, clean uniforms. No guns.
I like that the guy over here has like a 5 o'clock shadow. Like, what cop runs around looking like this?
Right. What's his name? Constable Allahu Akbar? I can't read it, but it is something like Constable Acrobat or something. I don't know. Metropolitan Police officers. And here they are. They have what seem to be little cell phones, or probably, what kind of radios do they call those? Like satellite radios. And some handcuffs.
Like XM?
And some keys. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, satellite radios, right? You know what they call those? What do they call this?
Like satellite radio, like XM or Sirius.
What am I confused? What do they
Like
call?
a satellite phone.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, satellite phones. Yeah, that's what they look like. All right, and then she's got some mace and she's got some handcuffs because she's gonna do something. All right, let's see what the strategy is. Forward from the mayor and taking action, targeting lawbreakers, offering ways out of crime, keeping deadly weapons off the street. Where is?
This is 75 pages long.
It's 75 pages. Where I want to know what the penalty is for having a knife on you as a person in London. Look at this. All these people will die first. That's what I think when I see Sadiq Khan standing next to two unarmed police officers. Now, let's not be dumb enough to think that his private security isn't armed. I'm sure they are. But, of course, he deserves special treatment because he's a politician. Now, over there, everybody is subject to the people they elect. So, we're not here in the United States because we're a free people. They are not in the UK. We support determined action. Who cares? Here he is talking to some other people. No
That
one
just
person
said,
or
we
organization
recognize
has
that
all the
knife
answers.
crime hurts.
Oh, you could have chosen your words better, Sadiq. Knife crime in London. All right, here we go. What do we mean by knife crime? Since 2008, knife crime has been defined as any offense that satisfies both of the following criteria. An offense of homicide, attempted murder, assault with intent to cause harm, blah, blah, blah. All right. Man, it's not going to tell us what the
They don't even know what the
penalty
rules are.
is here. Analysis of Metropolitan Police crime data indicates that 75% of victims of knife crime are male and frequently aged less than 25 years old. All right. Doesn't matter. The point is they've been trying to do this for a long have take people's knives, have a strategy against knife crime. And as you can tell, they've had a year to get it right, and it has only skyrocketed under Sadiq Khan. That is what happens when you elect people simply because of the color of their skin or their religious orientation. I have the same gripe with anybody who tells me you should. Great example. Anybody who tells me we should vote for somebody based on the church they attend or the religion is absolutely out of their mind. I was visiting a church last week, and they brought in Greenville County Council, and the congregation clapped for them as if they deserved some sort of respect from the church, and I about lost my ever-loving mind. It made me so mad, I could hardly contain myself, but I did point out that none of them brought a Bible. They came to a church for the sermon, and none of them brought a Bible. Not only that, one fella stood up and said he was going to run for Trey Gowdy's seat. You should vote for me. Now, you'll know him when I tell you this. All he does is use his Facebook to largely bash constitutional conservatives. I know I unfollowed him when he got real angry with Glenn Beck. I would rib Glenn Beck with the next guy over the fact that, he's a little melodramatic, but his principles are firm. And this guy was, he's on the Lindsey Graham train of Glenn Beck's crazy and don't be listening to Glenn Beck. I was like, all right. Fine, forget it. Well, he comes. He's like, I'm going to take Trey Gowdy's seat. I'm also going to sit here on my cell phone the whole time. So, you can see them. We're up in the balcony looking down on these people, and I go, you bunch of crooks. You're just a bunch of crooks. I wouldn't vote for any of them because I know when I'm being patronized. I know when you're here to pat me on the head and go, good little underling, come vote for me. No. Drives me crazy. I really wanted to go to the Greenville County people and cause a stink and just be like, hey, so I have 600 square feet of easement on my property, and you guys charge me taxes on that. Why is that? And when they start getting shifty and uncomfortable, I go, you thought you were going to come to the church and nobody would confront you about your thievery? No, we're going to talk about it. Jesus drove people out of the temple. I'm going to do it too, money changers. Get out of the temple. Bunch of jerks in the church. Man,
you won't beat them.
I was so, I got a whip. I will whip them out, man. I was so mad they were there. I was so mad. Nobody needs you in the church. Get out. Definitely, we have a local congressman who came. I used to go to this thing on Friday nights that was a church thing, and he came and sat behind me and stayed on his cell phone the whole time. I was like, why is he even here? Why is he here if he's got to sit on his cell phone? I'll tell you why he's there, because they believe that if they get seen in a church, they can get elected. That's what the people in London did. Well, he's a Muslim, and the world hates Muslims because the Muslims keep killing everybody, but we're going to prove that we can elect one, and he'll do a great job. He hasn't done a great job. Ergo, he's our vote of the week, and anybody that supports him, you can be the voter as well. All right. Don't forget hiddenwounds.org. Don't forget you can email HelloFresh at feltrecoilshow.com. Get some free meals on us. Did I miss anything, Hulon?
Probably.
Yeah, always do. All right, we'll be back next week for number 74 of the Felt Recoil Podcast.